Hi, welcome to AwkwardHamster. Today I'll be reviewing the Foscam E1. This is Foscam's wire-free camera security system. One pro is that this item is very affordable. It was about $200 for both the base unit and the camera. The camera model is B1, came as a set. You are able to purchase the B1 camera separately from Foscam directly, and it is priced lower than their competitor. Another pro is that the camera unit is entirely wire-free. Communicates with the base unit over Wi-Fi, and it's also got a built-in battery, so it's enough to power the camera for weeks, depending on how often the alarm gets triggered or how often you view it live. Another pro is that this can function indoor or outdoor. It is weatherproof.
Here is a Android phone, Samsung S7. It says a motion detected by the Foscam. There's one right here. And let me launch the Foscam app. Let's connect to it. The battery is pretty low right now. Hopefully it'll still show. The low battery indicator, oh, there I am. Hello. The low battery indicator kicks in when it's at 30%. So it warns me at 30%, warns me at 20%. Once it's under 20%, I won't be able to view the camera live anymore. This top over here, this also shows me the bit rate. So it's about between 65 to 75 kilobytes per second. Some other things on the screen, right next to the battery indicator is the wireless signal strength. And on the other side, here I see the volume button. So right now the microphone on the camera is catching my voice. My cell phone is connected to the cellular network, and there's about a second delay, not much at all. I can also press the microphone button here. Once I press it, I can start speaking to the microphone on my camera. So one of the things I can do while I'm viewing it live is pinch zoom. There is no digital zoom for this camera, so it's basically just use it just like any other smartphone or smart tablet. This app is free. It is also available on the iPad. It's on the iOS store, Google Play Store. I'm gonna head back out of here. I actually should stop viewing it live. It does drain the battery a lot if I view it live. This device is more for triggering. Oh, like for example, right now it says battery is too low, so I can't really view it. Well, I can view it live, but then I shouldn't. Some other things I want to show off the base station here. So for camera settings, for my B1, I have the video set to optimize. So that's a balance between maximum video quality and best battery life. Next is the alarm settings. What I have set is human detection for my alarm type. That's because I want to use the infrared sensor rather than just activity. With activity, I notice I get a lot more false alarms. With the human detection, I still get false alarms, but far less. And for sensitivity, I had to set it to low. When I had it set to medium, they were just going off, but like once every 15 minutes. I'm not sure. I think it's more of a software update. Foscam can always address that. But for those out there that sees their detection always being triggered, set it to low. For power frequency, because I'm using outdoors, I set mine to outdoor. This is where I went to turn off the LED status indicator on the camera. So it's not going to have any voice prompts, it's not going to have any LED flashing lights. Firmware. This is my current firmware. So as of today, this is the latest. Hopefully, well, we do know that Foscam releases firmware periodically, so some of the software issues that I pointed out, those are going to be addressed in the future. The camera speaker volume. That, even though I have it set to max, it is very weak. For outdoor use, it's not practical. For indoor use, it's not practical. I want to rely on the camera speaker. It just so happens today Foscam came out with a new firmware for the base unit. This is what I'm currently using. This is what the next version will be. And one of the things they're addressing is the human detection messages. And hit upgrade. So it'll take about 5 minutes to do the upgrade. The upgrade for these cameras are very simple. You just, as you saw, push of a button. In the past, we used to have to manually download the firmware, but now everything's connected to the Foscam cloud. Now while this is upgrading, let me just show the Foscam Cloud app here for a sec. All these messages here, you have messages, album, all these are really referring to what's stored on the device. For example, if I go to album, this does not show all of the sensors or the alerts from before. If I was in the B1 and then took a snapshot, then it'll be stored in the album. But anything that was auto-triggered recording of video, auto-triggered recording of images, those are all stored to the cloud. And for the cloud, this button over here, this one's more of an advertisement. Just that I already get 7 days free. Anyone that buys the E1 system gets 7 days free recording. Let me show anything else here. App camera, cloud, order list, settings here. Here's on top is my Foscam account. I sign with my fingerprint. Stream only over Wi-Fi. No, not here, at least not yet. Push messages. Mine is set to get push messages from the base station. So that is also an improvement from some of the other Foscam units. The other units, they didn't really have any active push notification, but with this E1 system, it does. And device list settings, currently all I have is just the base station.
The B1 magnet mount is handy. I can get all sorts of angles with it, but it's not ideal for all situations. So I'm also glad that Foscam included a tripod thread on the bottom. That way I can use any sort of universal camera mount. I can angle it, protrude it from a camera, point it back at an entrance if I want to. This was the original preferred location for the B1 camera. But when I had it placed here, I couldn't establish a connection with the base station. So I had it placed over here. Oddly, just placing over here, yeah, it actually established the connection. And that's actually a con. The reason I say that's a con is because, for example, the other outdoor Foscam units I reviewed, I can place it here, I can place it here, no problem, because it was connecting wirelessly to my router. It have a pretty powerful router. Whereas the B1 cameras is connected wirelessly to the E1 base station. The E1 base station, I'm just guessing here, you're using a cheaper antenna in there. Even though we physically see two antennas, there should be no reason why it can't connect 45 feet away. This is my iPhone, and here's the Foscam app. The logo looks the same whether I'm on an Android device or the Foscam device. And that was my B1. Currently it's powered off. It's not plugged in. But let me just go to the alert activities, for example. Here I can see all the alerts that kicked in the past. Let me head back to the camera itself, the cloud service. So down here, it records to the cloud for a week. Let me head back to the previous week. Okay, so it got rid of the earlier ones. It stays there for 7 days. It's 7 days of free cloud recording. Let me head to the 28th, for example. So when my wife walked out of the house, the alarm was triggered. When it records audio too. Once it finishes playing one of the segments, it jumps to the next one. I'm going to zoom in a little closer so we can see the time down here. So this was around 6:45 p.m., closer to 7 p.m. The image quality is decent for daytime. For nighttime, well, the object or the subject you're focused on really needs to be in front of the camera in order for the night vision infrared LEDs to bounce off it and for the camera to capture the image. I appreciate the 110-degree field of view. They achieve it by essentially have a wider lens, so there is a barrel distortion. It's not like an actual full frame. There are a few ways to record from the camera. For example, with the app, I can hit video record button or the snapshot. All those will be saved directly on my device, whether it's a smartphone or a tablet, and I can always export it. Those are manually triggered recordings. Others are like the ones down here. Those are triggered by activity detection, and those are pushed to the cloud. Another way is to plug a USB storage device to the E1 base station, and those recordings will be saved onto my USB storage device. This is what I have here. This is the USB storage device I have plugged into E1. This is the log folder, and for the BPI_station, This is the folder where it saves all the activity trigger recordings. So I'm going to take these for example. I'm just change the camera a little bit. So here we see that motion was detected on this date at this time. And let me just open this up here. It also records audio too. So this is just me pacing around the breezeway. This was a 11-12. This is about, let's see, maybe a 17-second recording. Not all the recordings are 17 seconds. This here, motion was triggered because my son and I were walking about, and this one was only a 6-second recording. And I just want to show the file size here too. So this 6-second recording, that is 437 kilobytes. Another thing I'd like to point out is down here, the video file, this is a 720p video file. This is not a 1080. Even though on the box it said that's 1080p Full HD, I don't know where that's being reflected. The cloud recording does not look like it's 1080p, and the recording direct to a local USB storage device, that's only 720. Another thing I'd like to mention is that for the Foscam app, I'm logging in to the Foscam cloud service. But if I log in through the myfoscam.com website, I cannot access the cloud recordings from any sort of browser, whether it's on a Windows computer or a Mac computer. Even though this Foscam app is free, fairly easy to use, straightforward, I cannot schedule anything. I can't schedule when I want the activity alert to take place. For example, if I want to place this in a doctor's office, well, in daytime when there's office hours, I don't want the alert to notify me because I know there's going to be people there. I want to use this as a security camera at night. In that case, I can't use this because if I go to like the B1 camera settings, none of these options here allow me to schedule. Same with the base station settings. None of these options here allow me to schedule. But those are just software issues that Foscam can address in future updates. It's still a con right now because it's not available, but a lot of the software functionalities can be incorporated later on. As for battery life, because of the capacity, this camera should have a very long standby time. In my case, I position the camera so that it's watching my breezeway, but also angled so that you see the street. So I get a lot of alerts. I get about 45 to 55, 60 alerts a day. That's a lot more than usual. So in my case, this lasts about a week. If I were to place it on a porch, place it in a garage, or just basically angle it so that I'm not pointing it at the street, I'll get far less alerts, and I'll expect this to be able to last more than 2 weeks on a full charge. As for charging it, first time I used it, I just charged it for about 12 hours, but afterward, it can fully charge within 3-4 hours. It does have two-way audio, but the microphone is weak, the speaker's weak. In an outdoor setting, you can barely hear it. Indoor setting, perhaps, but I would not rely on it. It would be nicer if this had Wi-Fi built into it too, because this one needs to be plugged into my router hardwired through the Ethernet network cable. And the cable that they provided, that's about 3 feet or so, maybe 3.5 feet. It's very short, far shorter than the the charging cable for this. There are a lot of pros, there are a lot of cons, and what it comes down to is how do you plan to use the camera? If you're in a high traffic area, that's the place you want to monitor, you're better off with one of those wired cameras. It doesn't matter what brand you go with. Wired for power is better for any high traffic areas. For the battery power ones, such as the Foscam B1, E1 combo, for this, I'll recommend something where you don't expect traffic, like for example inside a garage, is limited activity on a porch, for example. Not pointing at a road, not pointing in a hallway where people will walk by, not pointing at a sidewalk. Because every time an activity gets triggered, it drains the battery life. If you're viewing the camera, it drains the battery life. So all that may seem like a con, but that's exactly what these cameras are built for those areas where that's not high activity. Take those pros and cons into account, make a checklist for yourself, see what applies to you, what doesn't, and make your decision from there. Well, thanks for watching this review. If you guys have any questions, comments, suggestions, feel free to contact me. Thanks for watching AwkwardHamster.